I smile every time I hear that intro. But what is up, everybody? Welcome to another live Pin the Gas podcast on this Thursday Memorial Day weekend. But guess what? Check it out. This episode is brought to you by Bison. Listen, simply amazing people, amazing company, some of the best leathers out there in the business, all custom made. Why would you spend X amount on an off the rack suit when you get a full custom suit from Bison? Any colors, anything you want. Listen, I'm just telling you. So you can get chest protector, undersuit, gloves, the whole 9 yards. Custom. Like I said, any style you want. But yeah, so you can use 20 Pin to Gas 2024 and get 10% off anything at Bison. Hats, t-shirts. Even if you want team shirts made, they can do that too. But yeah, so check them out. They're on all social media platforms. And join the herd. Trust me, you will be happy. But listen, everybody. I'm super excited. I've been waiting on this for a long time. I finally get to sit down with the legend himself, Miguel Chirino. What is up, my man?
What's up, Chris? Thanks for having me, man.
Oh, man,
Appreciate it. It's
listen.
been a fun time.
The honor is all mine. Absolutely all mine. I've been super excited to this. I love to hear everybody's story from the very beginning, right? It's fascinating. It's something you don't get to hear often. But yeah, so Miguel, that's how I want to start it, man. Tell me how your journey began with Two Wheels.
Well, first, man, I got to thank you for doing what you do. I've never been a fan of podcasts in general. And then I started seeing what you're doing, and it's like, oh, I can relate to this. You know, this is road racing. This is my so it's very cool, man. I'm excited to be here. This is awesome.
Thank you so much. It's an absolute honor.
So yeah, man. You asked how I got into racing, right?
Well, no, I want to take it from the very beginning. How did your very first motor, 4, 5, 6, 7? When did you first get a bike? Yes, let's go from the very beginning with Miguel.
I thought a bunch of people relate to this, man. But, you know, you're a kid. I got an older brother. He gets a Pooch 50 for Christmas under the Christmas tree. And I saw that thing, and I'm like, ever since then, every Christmas, every birthday, every opportunity was a motorcycle. Never got the motorcycle. They tried. They got me an electric ATC once, and I thought to make it faster, you charge it longer. So I burned it out within a week.
I put different batteries in it, right? You're like, I can make it go faster with the Milwaukee.
Right? No, I was a little kid, 4 years old, maybe 6. But then our dad takes us to our first road race, and that was Moroso, which is PBIR back in the day. 6 years old, watching the bikes go by, feeling the hairs in the back of my neck standing up. That was it. That sealed. I love bikes from then on.
I'll never forget my first road racing either. It was absolutely magical because you watch it on TV and then you go there. Because I seen it on TV first, and then we went to one.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in Florida because my dad was in the Navy. I just can't remember what track I went to. I was probably your age, 6. Yeah. In Jacksonville, Florida. I actually lived in Orange Park South.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I wonder what track it would have been.
I have no idea. I was 6. I just remember going. It was a little car ride to get there, probably, I don't know, hour, 2 hours, whatever it was. I remember getting McDonald's.
Savannah.
It might have been, I don't know. But I just remember seeing them for the first time, and you're right, being there, the atmosphere, you hear the rumble of the engine, you see the speed, the excitement, and yeah. But I fell in love with motorcycles even before that because my dad had them, and I was like 3 years old, and they used to go looking for me, and I'd be out there sitting next to the bike trying to climb on it, and they're like, "You can't get on the bike," and I'm like, "I want to be on the bike," right? So yeah, that's where from the earliest memory I have. I've always loved Two Wheels from the first time I seen them. It's just, I don't know. It's just me, and that's my story. So,
were they supportive, like from the get go, or was it like, yeah, it's good for us, but not for you?
No. So my mom, yes, right. My mom's like, hell no, you ain't getting no bike. My dad's like, yes, we're gonna get him a bike, right? And then, obviously, my mom won, right? My dad's like, we do move a lot because I'm in the Navy and we might only be here. It's just a lot to take all this other stuff and blah blah blah. And I was like, highly disappointed, but I can't argue with him, right? But so what I did is I found friends wherever we moved to that guess what? I had motorcycles. And even if they were older than me, I'd make friends with them. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I grew up, pretty much riding dirt bikes. And then when I was 16 years old, well, before I turned 16, um, of course, parents, hey, we're going to get you a car, this and that, blah, blah, blah. We're going to help you. And I was like, I don't want a car. I want a bike. My dad's like, yes, we'll get you a used bike, right? And I was like, okay, cool. So I started looking for used bikes. And then he comes home with a brand new Harley Davidson. And I'm like, well, why you get a brand new Harley and I got to get a used bike, right? My dad's like, I know you grew up riding, but I think, it's a good investment to get you something used. And I was like, well, I'll make a deal with you. I will make almost straight A's, and I'll put over half the down payment or half the cost of the motorcycle that I want. He's like, what do you want? I wanted a ZX7R. My dad's like, absolutely not. You can get the ZX6R. And I was like, let's go. Right. So, dude, I busted my ass. Dude, saved up my money and did what I said I was going to do. And so, yeah, when I turned, 16, dude, driving to high school, had a brand new motorcycle. So I was that dude, right? Yeah.
For those viewers out there, they know what a ZX6 is. It's a rocket ship. And a ZX7, it's just more rocket ship.
Right.
That
and how beautiful.
Cool negotiate.
Right. That's what I said. I won on that deal. But how cool would it be, Miguel, if they actually come out with brand new ZX7RRs and a YZF 750 OW09 or whatever, right? I would love to see the 750s back, to be honest with you. That was a golden era of motorcycles. Now everything's a PlayStation or a robot, right?
Let's do a little bit of show and tell here. So you're talking about your ZX7 or ZX6, right?
Yeah.
So I brought a picture of my first bike. You ready for this?
Yep.
Pretty hot.
Let me see. I love it, dude. Yes. He's like, it's all of 2 horsepower. Yeah, with my knees.
Hey, that thing did 50 miles an hour. Don't tell my dad.
I won't.
That was the only way I was able to negotiate it. Yeah, I want a bike. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. All right, what about a bicycle with an engine? Well, yeah, I suppose, because he had a kid in Cuba,
That's awesome. I love it, dude. It's when you're into it and you have the love for it, you're gonna find a way to ride. I mean, I know I did. Like I said, as soon as we moved to a new place, the first thing I did, I went around to school, because you get to a new school. I think that's why I am the way I am, and just so open and communicated with everybody, because I've been used to making friends and then leaving, and making friends and then leaving, and then making friends and leaving, right? And I just carried that same energy wherever I went.
It's gonna be challenging. I get my roots in the ground, and I pretty much like my group of friends have been the same group of friends like from the get go. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I travel much. I haven't gotten out.
Yeah, it's different, but dude, I still talk to some of the kids that I grew up with to this day, which is awesome, right? But yeah, it was different. But anyway, what I would do is when I go to school, a brand new school, I'd walk around and I'd simply just ask everybody, because I've always been outgoing. I've never been shy. I could talk to 500 million people, don't know nobody. So I'd go around and ask everybody, hey, do you got a motorcycle? Do you got a dirt bike? Do you got a dirt bike? Do you got a dirt bike? You do? You're my new best friend. Let's hang out, right? And yeah, it was that's how it started. So my mom, it was inevitable, right? She wasn't getting out of that. So she still, she'd show up, she'd go out and watch us ride and stuff like that, but she was still you can't have your own.
It's funny. I actually, the way I found that bicycle engine, my friend, a guy was just running around the neighborhood, kid, on a beach cruiser with a motor on. And I was like, oh my God, I need to have that. So we chased him down. The guy was scared of his mind. Find out where he got it, whatever. And that's how I get into it. And next day I see him on the bus. And I was like, you're him. Of course, scared out of his mind. He's like, what do you want? Best friends from then on out.
I love it, man. I love it. So, okay, you got your bike. What was your very first proper motorcycle, your very first bike that you ended up getting?
The very first proper bike?
Yep.
So, well, what do you consider proper,
right? Your very first dirt bike, right? That's actually yours, your very first street bike.
So, the guy across the street, Jerry, who had a 100 KE100 Kawasaki, an enduro bike.
Yeah.
And it was just laying there, man. They just neglected it. And I was like, listen, I want to buy your bike. I was in love with it. How much do you want for it? $100. I went home. I was 15 years old. I got it. Johns. I counted. Actually, I gave them to him and said, listen, man, at least roll them. And I'll take them. And that's how I bought my first bike.
I love it, dude. I love it. And you'll never forget that, right?
No, absolutely. In fact, remember, my parents were anti-motorcycle. My mom was cool. My grandfather was supportive for whatever I wanted to do. My dad loves bikes, didn't love me. So I said, Dad, no, man, I just want to wash the bike. We're going to polish it. I'm going to roll it to John's, that kid I met on the bus, and we're going to just fix it. Halfway around the block, you're on the gas. Doing these.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That was one of the first things I wanted to learn to do is ride wheelies. And you know how I learned how to do it is a unicycle.
Well, that would make sense because that's all you're doing on a unicycle.
Because it's that whole balance thing, right?
Right.
It's on a wheelie, and every bike's got its own particular balance point. It does. Every single bike is different. I don't like them when they're like real high, right? I mean, I could do it, but I prefer the whatever this angle in this degree. But that's how I learned. I learned how to do a unicycle and got on it. And then my buddy had a XR70. And
yeah, I have an XL80, which is the enduro model. That.
Yeah, that's fine.
These bikes, these try and trim that quite a bit.
Listen, I miss those days, Miguel. Right? I miss those days of being a kid and not having to worry about a mortgage or none of this other stuff. Right? You just woke up and you're like, I'm gonna ride today, and that's all you thought, and that's all that mattered. Right? Go to sleep. That's it. That's it. Having fun, dude. Bro, sliding it everywhere. Dirt bike tires on the pavement, gravel roads. I mean, we was all over the place. Riding four wheelers. I was never a four-wheeler guy though. A couple of my friends had them, and I'm like, I'm good, right? Oh, come on, man, you got to ride it. Blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, I'd ride it literally for like 3 seconds, turn around, come right back, and be like, okay, you can have it back. I want two wheels, and that's how I've always been. Like nothing else interests me. Not NASCAR, not Formula One. I do watch Formula One occasionally, but most of that, I was a huge fan of Formula One back in the day, right? Michael Schumacher, I didn't watch him religiously, but I would watch it when it was on TV, and I was a fan.
Right.
And then, because they didn't really, road racing was sporadical, but you always had NASCAR and Formula One, basically. But
unless you know someone that does the road racing, it's just one of those things where you don't have that exposure. That's why I went to the racetrack that one time with my dad. That's what changed there. But then I think it was years, 15 years before I got another opportunity to see what road racing was all about,
So tell us about it. Tell us about it.
Well, so I bought that KE100. That buddy of mine that I met on the bus, turns out his dad had a BSA.
Nice.
Old school, a Gold Star, one of the very desirable bikes. Fell in love with it. It was stuck. He bought it from Venezuela. Didn't touch it since he had kids. It's been sitting in the garage. So we go there, sit on it, and look at it and fantasize about it. And not too long after that, my godfather's brother, who was into bikes, here, a fleet of them, bought this old basket case from Louisiana and gave it to me. So now I got a BSA of my own. Took it to his shop, my buddy's shop, because they had warehouses. And they were hot rodders and motorheads, so they're all into that. And it turns out that the only place in Miami that you can buy old British bike parts from was a place called Long's Motorcycle. Third generation motorcycle shop, been open since 1935. You walk, there's BSA, Triumph, Ducati, Norton, Ariel, all these vintage, classic, historic bikes. And then, it's a museum. I mean, you get in there, there's this aura about it. And those guys have been racing all their lives. The dad who established the shop raced, junior raced. I mean, we're not talking about racing like club racing. We're talking about World Championship, Isle of Man. I'm sure there's a bunch of tracks in it, but of course, the Isle of Man's the one that just sticks out in your head,
Love it. I love it. That's my favorite race of the year. You guys already know. I talk about it all the time, and it's getting ready to happen. So if you guys don't have your TT Plus app, what are you doing? It's $25 freaking. That's it, and you get it for the whole year. Yes, the TT's only 2 weeks, but they have Between the Hedges, Man, they got so many great shows about the TT that listen, we could sit here and talk about TT all day long because it's I love it.
Imagine that exposure as a kid, right? Went to your first road race and you got all excited watching these guys on the bike and just them in the motorcycle. Now take that to an island between England and Ireland with cliffs and hills and cows and do twice the speed, 200 miles an hour. Man, it's something else.
Have you ever been?
Yeah, I got to go in 2000.
Bro,
11? 2007.
I'm so jealous right now. We have got to talk about the TT because I'm a huge fan. So I'm gonna ask you this: do you know a lot about the TT, like the history of it at all, or are you just occasionally watch it and know a little bit?
I've watched it occasionally. Yeah, I know it's been around for over 100 years. In 2007 was the centenary, which is kind of a special time to go. But you're gonna have to educate me on that.
So obviously, it's 1907. It started. It used to be part of the World Championship, right? And then Giacomo Agostini was a big this is just too dangerous. It can't be part of the world stage. So was Barry Sheen. So they took it off the world stage. And then they thought that the TT would kind of die. And brain fart. Oh my God.
What happened?
I don't know. I got a brain fart, man. I can't remember the guy's name anyway. He made a comeback to come back to the TT, and that's what made Mike Hellwood come back to the TT.
Okay.
Right? Mike the Bike Hellwood, right?
Yeah.
And this is a question that I ask people on the podcast is I'm just gonna go ahead and ask you real quick, since we're on the TT subject, why not? So in 1961, Honda won their very first TT race. Who was the rider?
1961?
Yep.
Was it Japanese rider?
Mike the Bike Hellwood.
Okay.
Yes, it was. And then, so fast he retired in, that was 61. I want to say 67 or 68. Hellwood retired, and oh my God, I can't remember his name. And I talk about it all the time. Anyway, he made a comeback, and then Mike was sitting around, was like, you know what? If he can do it and come back, I can do it and come back. And then so he made, in my personal opinion, the greatest TT comeback ever. And it's saying that a lot of people made a proper TT. I mean, just legends of riders. Let's say like Ian Hutchinson, after all those accidents had come back and won. You got Robert Dunlop that got in a bad accident where I had to take everything over to the right-hand side, everything on his left side. They told him he'd never ride again, and he won a 250 race. I mean, that's, and then you got John McGinnis, you got Connor Cummins, you got Michael Rudder, Joey Dunlop, the Birch Hall boys on the side. I mean, the list goes on and on. But to me, Mike Hellwood being away, Miguel, from especially the TT for 11 years and then coming back and winning.
That's amazing.
Legend, like absolute legend status.
Road racing is like that. It's such a mind game. There's some of these Moto3 guys, you see them, they'll crash out of the race. There's 30, 40, who knows how many guys on the grid, and then win the race. Yeah. Guys all like, where did they get the energy from? Like, why didn't they just start it that way? But it's the motivation of the psych, so cool to see that kind of stuff. So like Mike Hellwood coming back, I'm sure there's something there driving.
Well, it's you see it all the time. Well, you hear it where you have this addiction to the speed, right? Is what this a certain adrenaline rush that you can only achieve racing a motorcycle and then retire. So the rest of your time you're spending trying to find and fill that void, and nothing ever really comes close to it, right? And that's why some of the guys do come back and do it, right? Because it's everything to them, and I had this conversation with a couple people at work. I'm all excited going around. Got a podcast today, the Isle of Man TT's coming out, and they're like, what's the Isle of Man TT? And I was like, oh my God, dude, here we go. Right. So I'm showing them the videos. They're like, holy shit. I was like, dude, you have no idea. Like, no idea. Right. So I always wanted to go. It's on my bucket list, Miguel. So tell me, what is it like being there in real life?
It's so intense, man. I mean, John Long, he raced the Isle of Man. So, of course, that was my first exposure where I learned about it and stuff like that. And, of course, I started making plans about it, not really realizing what is all involved. I've never been there when I was a kid. I started racing 125 GP bikes, and I saw Joey Dunlop was racing 125s and 250s and all these different bikes. But of course, the GP bike really attracted me. And I was like, wait a second, a 125 weighs 150 pounds, 160 pounds, soaking wet. You can take it apart, put it in 5 briefcase or luggage, bags. And I'm at the Isle of Man. So let's do this. That was starting to materialize, And John was saying, and he was motivating me, egging me on a little bit, kind of trying to see what I pulled off, And he's like, well, they give Americans support. If you want to ride, you just got to go write a letter to the Isle of Man TT, tell them who you are, what accomplishments you've had. I haven't had any accomplishments. I haven't started racing yet. I just learned about racing motorcycles, what it took to get into motorcycles. But I started going through that process, Anyway, going to the Isle of Man. The way that it happened, a friend of mine, Shahab, and a friend of mine, Courtney, were like, we're going to go visit Shahab's sister in Belgium. You want? And I was like, you're crazy. You're full, whatever. And I ignored him. Then the other one calls me the next day. Hey, we're going to go see Shahab's or my sister in Belgium. You want to come? Oh my God, this is for real. So Courtney was like, oh, if we go to Belgium, I'm going to Ireland. Because she's like, I think half Irish. I'm like, oh man, will you come with me? If we're going to Ireland, I'm going to the Isle of Man. Like, there's no choice about it. Whatever it takes. It's like, all right, I'll go with you. You come to the Ireland. So that's how that whole thing materialized, Spur of the moment. Last thing I would have said.
Lucky, like if it was me, like, and my wife was like, absolutely not. You're not going to the TT, but I'm going to Ireland. I'm filing for a divorce immediately. As soon as we get to Ireland, I'm going straight to the TT. I'm sorry, babe. I love you more than anything, but yeah, I'm going to the TT. Matter of fact, I told my wife when I pass away and die, she needs to get on a plane. If I die before her, I spread me at the TT. I don't care where, just wherever. I'm good. That's where I want to be. I do, man. I want to go so effing bad. It's killing me, man. It really is.
It's funny. You go to a bar over there in the TT, and expecting a regular bar, right? Except with this bar, every single person you talk to knows the entire history of all the racers, and who won what championship, who did what, where, how. They're doing away,
I bet, man. So when you was there at the TT, man, listen. I can only imagine. I've been to MotoGP races, Moto America races, BSB races. Everybody knows BSB is my favorite production racing. But never been to the TT. And when I watch it, you see how excited I get just talking about it. So when it's live, it's like, I don't want to be bothered. I'm glued to the TV. The hairs are standing up. I'm screaming and hooping and hollering. And going to MotoGP, Moto America, and BSB, all three of the atmospheres are different. It is. It really is, right? But at the Isle of Man, in my brain, I envision when you're there, it's a special energy that you don't feel nowhere else in the world. No other racetrack.
Here's why it is, but here's where I'm going to deflate the bubble. It wasn't the TT. It was a random week during the year. Actually, it's closer to the Southern 100. They were just getting ready for the Southern 100.
Interrupt you. What do you want on your pizza?
Whatever, babe. I'm getting.
What kind of wings you want?
Hot.
Like habanero hot?
Habanero, the hottest they got.
Okay.
My wife's like, I'm gonna order you wings. How hot you want it? As hot as they can make them.
Go in there.
Everything you got.
That's what you want.
So yeah. I'm getting wings and pizza for dinner. Woohoo!
Awesome.
So the TT.
Yeah. I went there where they were staging for the Southern 100, so there was no racing going on. But they gave me the opportunity to drive the track or the city streets, of course. So I'm thinking I'm taking a tour bus in my mind. And Courtney's like, hey, man, we're here. This is your lifelong dream. We're not taking a tour bus. We're going to rent a car, and you're going to drive the course. Oh, shit. So she's the one, the culprit that motivated me to do it. So we rented it. And, just lap after lap after lap during the course. Just watching the locals laugh at me while I was doing the roundabouts.
Right? Yeah, right.
On the wrong side of the road, the opposite side of the road.
And listen, for those of Americans that's never been over to Europe, the roundabouts are different than the roundabouts here. Yes, you're on the opposite side of the road, but they're a 2-lane roundabout. And it's like, you really got to pay attention because there's like 5 different ways you can go. And people are just like, shoot, 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 shoot. And you're like, holy shit, what's going on? Right? It's,
yeah. They'll stop and they'll laugh at you because they know you're a foreigner, you're not from around there. So
facts, especially when you start talking, right? Like when I went over there to Europe, as soon as I opened my mouth, everybody's like, where are you from? I'm like, I'm from Virginia. I'm here for BSB. Let's go. And everybody's like, holy shit, your energy is just crazy. I was like, woo! You know what I'm saying? That's how I am.
so that is what I guess I was missing. I have to go back. I got to find out what it's like to be in the mix, you know.
Man, listen, I can only imagine that even the Southern 100, dude, there's so many I want to go. I want to go to the Macau, the Southern 100, Oliver's Mount. I could sit here and talk about European racing all day long, especially when it comes to road Estonia.
So you need to have John Long. I told you about this already. Hopefully he'll come around and have him on the podcast because he can tell you firsthand what it's like to be on the course. Speak numerous times. And we were just here hanging out at a DGR, which is the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride last weekend. Where we all get together and fundraise, but we're all classic bikes. And of course, he's one of them. And we're talking element, and he was like, Mig, we get there, it's foggy, there's mist on the mountain, you see where you're going, and you're trying to do a decent lap time. So you can imagine.
Yeah. I play the video game. I haven't bought it in a while, but the new one come out. I actually need to buy it. But dude, I watch the TT. I talk about the TT. I watch all the documentaries. I read the books. Listen, I am a TT 100%. If I could only watch one race a year, it would absolutely be the TT, hands down. If I could only watch one series a year, it would be British Superbike racing, hands down. I do get a lot of flack from my American friends. Oh man, you're American, Moto America, and I love Moto America. Don't get me wrong. Okay, the only reason why I say BSB is better than all the other race organizations in the world is because their super bikes have no electronics on them. They're racing 240 horsepower motorcycles with no traction control, no anti-wheelie, none of that.
I didn't know that.
Yes, absolutely. That's why I tell everybody, man, BSB is the shit. Straight up. It's old school, proper way of racing. So imagine Jake Gagne taking all the electronics off his 240 horsepower Yamaha R1 and racing it in Moto America. That's what the BSB boys do.
You give me a different perspective on it.
Dude, I'm telling you, Miguel, and it's free to watch. Bennett'sBritishSuperbikes.com. You can watch it for free. Watch it live. It is.
Check it out.
Listen, it's to me, that's the best way to ride a bike, right? And of course, they got Cadwell Park.
Yeah.
Who don't love Cadwell Park, right? And it's one of those things, like you, when you got to the TT, even though no racing was going on, Miguel, you was physically there. You was there. You was on the course where Joey Dunlop, John McGuinness, Mike the Bike Hellwood, Barry Sheen, Giacomo Agostini, Ian Hutchins, Connor Cummings, Josh Brooks, Robert Dunlop, dude, all the Dunlop. I can just go on and on and on with all the riders, right? It's the history, the legacy. Yeah. And let me ask you this though: when you was there, did you go to Joey's bar?
I was in a bar. No, I don't think I got to see Joey's bar. Yeah. No.
Well, listen,
I got to have the proper English breakfast.
Right. Okay. Perfect. Did you eat or try the black pudding?
Oh man, I missed out. No, I need to go back. What they served me for breakfast was beans and sausage. That was it.
Okay. Well, so when I was in Louth in the UK, their English breakfast was beans, sausage, eggs, potatoes, and they ask you if you and bacon, right? But their bacon's like our American bacon's cut like this thin strips, let's say 2 inches, right? Their bacon's like this wide. Yeah, and it's good. It's good. It's to me, their bacon wasn't as salty as our bacon over here. But so my buddy Daniel Parker, big shout out to Daniel Parker, rider mindset coach, works with Finn Wheaton, which won the championship last year. He's working with a lot of riders. He's an absolute amazing. So he picked me up from London and I was starving. He's like, we got to get you a proper English breakfast. I was like, okay, so we're sitting down. He said, have you ever had black pudding? Absolutely not. But when in Rome, why not try it, right? So they bring me this black pudding. And it's like circle. It's about this thick. And it looks kind of like a brownie with, I guess, peanuts in it, maybe. So I'm looking at it, and I save it for last, of course, because it's pudding, right? So everything else was good. Man, I take a bite of this black pudding, bro, and I take about 3 chews and spit it straight in my napkin and looked at him and was like, that's the most horrible thing I've ever tried in my life. You kidding me right now? Dude, it was absolutely horrible. And don't
What
even
was it?
ask what it's made of. Dude, it's made with like pig's blood and some all kinds
That's
of
hilarious. And when I went to Spain, they have this stuff called morcilla, I think, or morcillo or something like that. And that's exactly what it is. It's like blood sausage, I guess.
stuff.
But so it wasn't a sweet. It wasn't a dessert.
Absolutely not. If you think that's sweet, then there's something mentally wrong with you, in my opinion. Yeah, it was not. No, it's not for me, but a lot of people love it. They do have a white pudding there. Next time I go, I will try the white pudding. They say that's better, but again, I gotta try it if I'm there, right? My favorite thing when I was over there was proper fish and chips with the curry
Fish and
sauce.
chips.
And dude,
Yeah.
the squishy peas, mushy peas, right? Because I remember we was at the place, and I was like, "Yeah, let me get some of those squishy peas." And everybody looked at me and started laughing. And they're like, "It's mushy peas." I was like, "Yes, let's go. Let me get some mushy peas." Yeah, it's awesome, man. It's good stuff, man. We're going. I'm going. I'm
I'm
going. We will. My
Okay.
buddy, listen, my buddy Aaron just said, Chris, we are going to the TT in 2025, right? Listen, this is the thing about the TT is as soon as it's over, people are already planning for the next year. It don't never stop. People don't realize that and I'm talking about not just a lot of people there, they'll rent out their house or they'll rent out a room in their house, right? Because there's not like a whole lot of hotels and stuff. A lot of people camp and tent, but it fills up very quick. Even teams, as soon as this TT's over in 2024, literally the next day, preparations are already starting for 2025.
Wow.
So it's a huge I mean, think about it. They got to do the whole traffic situation with the public on the road, the police. That it's a huge event. It takes a long time to make happen, right? But yeah. Enough about the TT, man. Listen, Mig, we could talk about this all the time. Yeah. So let me ask you this: your very first street bike, where you actually, was licensed and out there on the road, and then from getting your first street bike, how did you end up getting into track days and then racing?
Well, so I was, I had that Beezer, the BSA. Right? I was 15 years old, tore it a million pieces, started restoring it, had to deal with John Long, and he was the only guy with parts. And, they were road racers, but they did it. I mean, they are the epitome of road racers. Like, they live, breathe that. So I asked him for a job. I'm like, listen, I want to become a motorcycle mechanic. What do I got to do? And he's like, you start Monday. So here I am. I barely know how to change a tire. And I'm a motorcycle mechanic for the oldest bike shop in Miami for, these racers, And then, of course, start learning and, pay my dues. And I was like, listen, John, how do I start racing? And he's like, oh, just come with us. He gave me the date, he gave me the flyer, and that's it. I started going to the races, hanging out, helping out and stuff. And then I finally said, all right, well, now how do I start racing? And a couple of buddies of mine, Bart Caber, who used to live on top of the shop, Joey Urbanowski, whose dad used to race with John, and then Reed Adams, who's a really good friend, all said, well, man, if you're doing it, then we're going to do it. So now we got a group of guys. One's on an XR 600. One's on a Benelli 250 road racer, proper road racer with John Lenton. And then Joey's building his RD 400 from scratch.
Nice.
Mid-bike. 1970 something. And I didn't have a bike. So Bart lent me his Ascot 500 shaft-driven V-twin.
No way.
Yeah. To race prep, we put a straight bar on it, safety wired it, and that's it.
And off you went.
And off we went. I borrowed a helmet, John's old leathers with duct tape on the gloves, and like whatever we can do to make it happen on a minimal budget. But that was exciting.
Oh, I bet, dude. I'll never forget my first track day, my first event. Yeah, being out there on the track. It's like you squid on the street, right? So I was at squid on the street, dude, riding wheelies past cops, doing whatever the bike would do, just didn't care, right? And then when I first got my first leather suit, holy shit, I was like, that's it. I'm the fastest guy on the planet, running out there dragging my knees and doing all this. And then my buddy's like, dude, we need to go to the track. We took it to the track. I'm like, I'm gonna smoke everybody. No, the only person I beat was my friend, and that was it, right? It humbled myself very, very quick. So yeah.
So you got out there on a. I mean, you already had the experience of a 600.
Yeah.
So you're taking it to a kid who had the bicycle with an engine to the KE 100 dirt bike. I did have a 600. Well, actually, no. Before that, I hadn't had the 600 yet. I got Ascalon 500. Ascalon. That was the nickname for the bike. And that was my first time ever doing more than 100 miles an hour on a motorcycle. I had no street experience. I had no experience. In my mind, I did, but you know. So I get down to the back straightaway, which is a super long straightaway, top gear for a while, and then it's a tight left, very quick, comes up on you, and very little runoff room. So I run straight off. I forget what turn it was. On the front brake, on the rear brakes, get sideways, lock up the front brakes, just sliding in the grass, barely stopping before the tire barriers, catch my breath, and then go do it again. Bouncing off the walls, literally trying to get around. Frank Kinsey, who was the road race instructor at the time, said there's one rule: don't crash. So of course I crashed.
Right, me too. I did it my first time too. Facts, absolutely, I did, because listen, there's a thing to thinking you know how to ride versus proper riding, proper body position, proper, all that, right? And I was a squid. I didn't know, even though I was a fan of road racing, I watched it and I would see their body positions. I would mimic it on the street, but I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, right? And then I started taking corner speed school out here, and in Phoenix, actually. I forget the name of the school. It was with CCS at Firebird International Raceway. I did that for like 6 months and got some one-on-one coaching with Mark Ledesma, which was absolute proper fast out there. He was the guy back in club racing. I paid him to do it. He taught me a lot. Like, I'd sit on the bike. He'd show me body, foot position. Dude, a lot of people don't know that, right? So, yeah, once you learn that, you get more comfortable and all that good stuff. But listen, from your first track day, and then you hooked instantly, like, I got to get my own bike. Right, Miguel?
Actually, I was super impressed after that. I was like, wait a second. I was expecting to win races, and I was like throwing in the towel. I'm like, hey, John, like, I suck. Like, there's no way I'm going to. And he's like, listen, man, it was your first time out. Like, I just talked to my first time. Like, come on, you get it. And slap me in the head. And then, like, all right, I started mustering up a little more confidence. And there was this bike in the showroom. It was a SRX 600 Yamaha. Very rare, single-cylinder 600 thumper. Beautiful bike. And I'm like, all right, well, what about that? And he's like, all right. Called the owner to get it on consignment, Scott Guthrie, good friend of his, also a racer. And I was like, listen, I can give you $100 a month. And I'll buy the bike. He's like, all right, but you're not moving it until it's paid off. And I sent it out. I think it was in California or another state. So every month, $100. Finally, I got to $1,500. Got the bike, got it titled, and then I took the California Superbike School. And that's where I started kind of learning my chops a little bit. Like, all right, man, well, counter steer to get into the turn. Like, well, how hard can I counter steer? I can see you bend the bars. I don't care. So I started kind of almost dragging it. And then John Long, he had a box truck and a bunch of YSR 50s. You seen those little Yamaha 50s?
I know
those
exactly
things
what it is.
are a gas to ride. And he would just throw them in the truck. He had kids who were starting out to race at that point, or to ride at that point. And we just take us all to the go-kart track here in Miami. This is pre-SFL Mini GP, pre-305 Motard or Flam or anything. And we paid like $5. And they let us ride all night long. So, we just lap after lap after lap. We would crash. We would pick up the bike. We would pick the front tire straight again. We would ride until we ended it.
I love it.
That was fun. I'll never forget. Those are the best days.
I hear you, man. I look back and it was. But you know what, dude? These days are the best days too in my life right now. So, but I do miss those days. It was it was a different time period when we were growing up. It was a different era. People are not the way they are now. The laws and the rules are completely different. The way you can talk to people, the way it's just a completely different world, right?
Yeah.
Than what it is now. There's no freaking way we would have got away with that shit today, right? Absolutely.
That goes to my head a lot, you know?
Yeah, absolutely not. So I've never done California Superbike School, but I am friends with the people that run the California Superbike School in the UK. So if anybody's out there interested in getting on the track, look no further than California Superbike School UK. And they use the same it's the same criteria as it is here in America too, as it is over there. But it's something I want to do. So obviously when I go over there, I'm gonna hit Gary and Jane up, and I'll be at California Superbike School, get to ride with them. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. I can't wait.
It'll be a proper racetrack, I'm sure, too.
Cadwell. You already know where I'm going.
Cadwell.
Yeah, I'm going to Cadwell. Yeah, straight up. That's my favorite track in the world. I ain't scared of the mountain jump. I want listen, Miguel. It's one of those things that you got to see in real life. I'm telling you right now, man. It's one of the most beautiful things besides the TT you'll ever see. It's the only racetrack in the world with a proper jump. Let's just be honest, right?
And
it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. But listen, so you finally paid off the bike. You got the bike. How was the thumper on the track?
So we safety wired it, put some number plates on it. And actually, you know what? Here, we'll do a little show.
Yeah, let's see. You got some pictures. Let's see.
Yeah. So this is the thumper right here. You see
nice. I remember that bike.
You just touch the gas and front end will come up, you know? But, you know, so I took it to Homestead. They were just opening Homestead. It was like 1997. No, 1996. Yeah, California Superbike School SRX. So, man, I did one track day on it, and I realized that wasn't going to be the bike for me, because to make it properly fast and competitive, you need the Carrillo rods, the high compression pistons, the headwork, the crank. It goes on and on. For that, you know? So John was like, listen, man, sit on that 125 that we got. There was an old 1992 RS 125. And I sat on it, and it was super long. I had to stretch out on it. And I was like, oh, no, man, this is kind of weird, you know? But he's like, that's a proper race bike. That's what it's designed for. That's what you should do. It took me a little bit to come around, but I bought one. And then my friend Bart, the guy who lived upstairs, bought one too. So we were a team now, Team PMS Racing. My friend John Graspall also came along. He was the mechanic of the team, you know? So that was the real road racing started.
Dude, listen, that's one of the bikes I always wanted, was a proper RS 125 or 250, right? Who wouldn't kill to have an Aprilia RS 250, the proper one? I mean,
well, mine was a Honda, though.
I know, Miguel. That's what I'm saying. I would love to have a Honda RS 125 or the Aprilia RS 250, right? I always wanted a proper race bike, right?
A GP bike,
a GP bike. That's exactly what it is. Never had the opportunity to buy one. How was it, man? I'm sure it was a blast.
Man, it was intimidating. I mean, it was 125. You think it's 125? Oh, it's a dirt bike, you know, whatever. But you know, it's 13,000 RPMs. You know, you have to mix the gas. You have to learn how to jet it every year. I mean, they also told me proper maintenance. They didn't follow any proper maintenance techniques, but they told me how to do it. So I took it religiously, because I really didn't want to end up over the handlebars. Because if you don't tune it properly, you will end up over the handlebars. it'll seize. So it taught me how to work, but I struggled with that thing, man. It took me so. I mean, I'd be consistent and persistent. I got every race that I could, but I had a real hard time going fast on it. You know, it was just smoking. Fast forward a while, and Dave Thomas, who's a master mechanic, super fast rider, says, "Let me borrow your bike. I want to see what a 125 feels like." And he takes it, prepares it properly. I had like 3 inches of sag on the front end, which you're supposed to have like 16 millimeters.
Right.
So it means that when I was going into a turn, immediately get on the gas just to keep it from touching the front end.
Yeah.
And that's how I learned how to ride. You know, just flick it in and get on the gas. You know, and it would flick me off often. I crashed a bunch of that thing.
I bet.
Whatever. He fixed it. And he did all right. I think he got like a third place, something like that. But kind of short-lived. I actually bumped up to a TZ 125, which is the Yamaha. And that was a proper race bike. You know, it had the new chassis geometry and power valve. Honda had a power valve? I don't think it did. I don't know. But yeah, so that's that.
And the TZ had the banana swing arm, if I remember. Didn't on your TZ 125, it had a banana swing arm on it, didn't it? The banana style swing arm. It's
pretty a square box straight. It didn't have the reinforcements that the 1998 had.
Okay.
It was a pre-98, so it had a bigger bore, shorter stroke motor. It was very well handling. It wasn't the fastest thing in the world, but it worked. And I was starting to win races. I started to lead races because it was a proper set of bike. The other one I had, I really didn't know where it came from. It was kind of pasted together from different parts to find out in the shop, but it was what I could. You know? So the TZ was cool. We bought a fleet of them. John had one. His son had one. Another racer, George Corvato, had one. Frank Hessner, Yuri Benamode. It was a fleet. It was awesome. We had a really good grid.
Do you still wish you had that bike?
You know, actually, I don't.
No.
I don't. Because it was so much work. It was a full-time job to maintain these motorcycles, man. I was a club racer.
Yeah.
Remember, they told me how to do it. No one else did it. I would come in from my my practice session. I would immediately remove the take off the pipe, take off the cylinder, the head, look at the piston, see if everything's kosher, rejet it, put it all back together before the next practice session. So if you can imagine doing that day in, day out, or weekend in, weekend out. And then every year it was complete rebuild. It would rebuild the crankshaft, change I don't know any motor modes that Honda did. I'm making it sound like a lot more work than it was. I did main bearings, crank bearings, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Unnecessary. It gave me the confidence to go into a turn and not really worry about it seizing up. I only seized twice in a series of maybe 18, 20 years.
Nice.
One of them was because I didn't put it back together properly. I was at Jennings and it was too much sand and I was in a rush. And another one was at Daytona. When we put the crank in the TZ, we didn't true it properly and I seized the crank on the bank.
Yeah.
But that's not a bad record.
No, absolutely not. That's a good record, man. So you only seized twice in that long? Yeah. Yeah. So I went to Motorcycle Mechanics Institute. But I knew kind of how to work on bikes just from growing up, helping my buddies, right, work on their bikes. Dad come out and say, "Hey, this is how you pull the carburetor off. You guys are in charge of any rejets. You got to clean the carb. You got to, this is how you change the tire, put an inner tube in. This is how you clean the air filter, spark plug chops on a two-stroke, blah, blah, blah."
Right.
That's where I learned all that, yada, yada, yada. Fast forward it. When I first got my first street bike, bought a full Muzzy pipe header, jet kit, K&N filter, the ignition advancer, right? Remember the ignition advancers? And then took it to the shop. They had it for like 2 weeks. They called me up. They said, "We can't get it running." I said, "Don't even put it back together. Just leave it where it is." Went and picked it up, brought it home. Took me 8 hours. I even ordered a shop manual for it, right? So we didn't have the YouTube or the internet. And I've never done it on a 4-cylinder before. So I'm out there drilling out the fuel mixture plugs. I mean, dude, I did all that shit myself. And then I was like, shit, I'm going to MMI. Forget this. Like, nobody will ever touch my motorcycle again in the shop. And to this day, hasn't. The only time I've ever taken any of my bikes to the shop was when I owned my Ducatis, and I took them in just for their valve adjustments, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's expensive. I mean, if we're doing a sport, you kind of have. It's kind of a necessity.
It is.
How else are you going to be able to do that unless you're independently wealthy or have sponsors?
110% fact, right? So
actually, I should say that, but a lot of people actually do it. But then that's probably what's kind of keeping them limited as what they can do. As far as competing wise.
Well, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. If you could put your own clutch in at the track and your clutch is slipping, you know how to do it. Guess what? You just come in and you do it. You don't have to wait on somebody or ask for help you're right. There's definitely advantage. And if you are out there doing it, I think it's good to know at least your basic stuff on a motorcycle,
It's hilarious because you're at the track, take me 15 seconds to do anything to the bike, or maybe, what's a practice session is 15 minutes. the entirety rebuild the motor pretty much, or replace the motor. I come to my garage at home, working on my personal projects like my DSA. It takes me like a month just to change a clutch.
Facts, dude. No bullshit. When you hit the track, it's different. It's like it's this whole era. It's just it's a different world. It's awesome, man. But look, check this out, man. We got two buddies of mine all the way from the UK. Craig Harris, my mate. He says, hey guys, hope everyone is good. It's race weekend. It is race weekend. We got MotoGP, and I know you guys heard the announcement of where Alicia Spargo announced his retirement from MotoGP. So congratulations to him. And then we got my man Shane Farrow in the house. He is right here in the sleep. BSB Barmy Army. What is going on, mate? He has a rider fund called BSB Barmy Army. It's this fundraiser, man. It's listen, guys, you need to go check it out. BSBBarmyArmy.com. Absolutely, we actually need something like that here in America. 110%. What he does for a lot of the racers, it's nothing but love, baby. Absolutely. But anyway, so going from the 250, where did your career in racing go from then?
Well, honestly, it was the 125. I didn't have a chance to ride a 250 till
the 125.
2008. No, but it's cool because the 250. I mean, I did ride 250 in like 2000, and it was 10 times the power. Like you would think it'd be twice the power, but it was a completely different animal. I mean, the brakes are better, the power is everywhere, and very exciting. But it handles just as good. You know? Yeah. Honestly, I stuck there for years on the 125 because it made sense to me. The package was all there. I can load it up on the truck by myself. I can take it back together, my eyes closed. Tires were inexpensive relative to other categories. And it gave me the fix that I needed because it handles just as fast and faster than most of the proper 600s. I mean, they would tell me, and it's me, you go in there and the bike is going to outride you. Like, you want to ride this bike properly, everything you got. And it always wanted more. It was such a learning tool, you know? it was really like that. And then you have two different bikes. You have the power valve and non-power valve. Okay, the power valve is a little more forgiving, like the Yamaha. But eventually I ended up with an RS 125. That was my next bike. And you have to go in at like 11,000 RPM for it to go anywhere. Otherwise, it's flat on its face. So imagine doing that. You'll learn how to enter a corner quickly.
Yeah.
But going back a minute with a TC 125, actually, when I started winning races, I actually crashed at Jennings, and it was a bad crash. I suffered heat exhaustion, ran off turn one, ended in the safety embankment, ended in the woods. Broke my neck, broke my acetabulum, the socket, the leg goes in. So after that, I was out for like 4 months.
That's yeah, I've never had that bad of a crash. I've broke my knee. Yeah, that's the most of my extent of my major track crashes. I broke my knee. Like where your knee joins like this, right? I actually cracked my kneecap and cracked the bottom of it here and tore a tendon. It was
That's one of the worst injuries you can have, man, because you put so much pressure on your knee day in, day out.
Oh, listen, I to this day, I still got knee problems. 100, and they told me straight up for the rest of your life you have knee problems. Meaning that when I went to Texas, I go to Texas every year with one of my best friends in the world, Jason. Big shout out to Jason. When we was there this year, man, I'm walking around. I just feel like fluid just started building up my knee, and my knee just started hurting. It was just for me walking so much in the heat, even though I exercise, right? It's inevitable, right? And it's still a little swollen to this day. And I ice it. I do ice baths, and it just, yeah, man, it's just one of those things you just deal with.
My brother had a similar issue on mini bikes. He was just messing around in the driveway and bended and hit his leg against a rock or something like that. And yeah, his knee's never been the same. Wiring it together and stuff.
Yeah. It's not. And there's times where I'll just do like a wrong step and I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me right now? It's just one of those things, man. But I deal with it. And I'm the type of person where my wife's got to force me to take Tylenol or Advil. She's like, you have to take this. I'm like, I ain't taking it. So she'll put it in my water without me knowing, even though I know when she forces me to drink water, what's in it anyway, right? So I do it, but I'm just, yeah, I just, it's just one of those things you just deal with, right?
I learned
Um,
the lesson in the hospital. They'll fill you up with Percocets and oxycodone and all that stuff, and it was really messing with me. And I was like, you know
yeah,
what, forget it. I'll deal with the pain.
yeah,
I
I,
was in a halo mood, like that.
yeah,
And I was not weight bearing because I had my broken hip. But that was a, and they charged like $20 a pill too. Ridiculous amounts of money.
yeah. That's one thing that the industry that we know of as far as pharmaceuticals, that's all they want to do is just give you these pain pills. They want to take them from you, and then people are addicts and go to heroin and blah blah blah. It's such a bad drug because it don't do anything. It helps you, I guess, because I've been on it before, so it helps you uh you deal with it. But again, it's like I'm not myself. Right? It's like
Right.
it's just weird. It's hard to explain it, but it's that whole addictive side to it. It's just not good, and that's why I'm to this day. I'm like, nope. Like I had wrist surgery a couple years ago. I actually need another wrist surgery,
No
and
shit.
they gave me I forget what they gave Lortab, Percocet, or whatever the hell it was. And I come home and my wife said, "You gonna take one of these?" I was like, "I don't want one." She's like, "You're gonna take one." So I took one. I think I took one or two, maybe out of the whatever 2015 that they gave me, and yeah, I just went straight in there when she was at work and flushed them all down the goddamn toilet and
Well,
thought I was slick and put Tylenol in there instead. And my wife comes home to give me one. She's like, "What'd you do?" I was like, "I flushed them all down. I told you I don't want that shit." Like, no, I don't want it. I
no,
don't.
it's good that you had that will though, because yeah, it'll mess you up. I know a lot of people have
Yeah, man,
been
it's
messed up by
bad.
it.
It's
You
bad,
know,
man.
we should probably segue onto the insurance thing.
Dude, listen, Miguel. Yes, it's. I told you this. An hour went by like this. I told you it
It's
was. So
true.
I'm telling you, that's why we're definitely going to have a part 2 and a part 3 because there's so much of your story that I really want to talk about. But yes, let's get into that. I know what you do for a living, but tell us what is it you actually do for a living besides winning races all the time?
I'll tell you how much I won in my career span in a minute. But no, I'm a real estate agent. But honestly, I do insurance also. I've been going to the tracks and promoting supplemental insurance. So it pays you, you get hurt, it with the money. There's two things that can keep us from racing and doing what we love, and that's injuries and expenses, right?
100%.
So, and I have a personal experience on it, so that's why I believe in the product so much. And I think it's good for us. And all it really does for me is it keeps my licenses active since I'm doing real estate, and I think it's just appropriate for what we do. Actually, it keeps me racing too. Sorry.
So tell us about the insurance. Tell us
Well,
about
it's purely that. I mean, if you ever heard of like Aflac,
it.
the duck, and then I also have Combined. So it's so simple. Like it's nothing really. It's not health insurance. Let's say you get hurt, right? Whether you're riding your motorcycle or you're walking your dog, you fall and you break your wrist. Actually, how did you break your wrist?
So I didn't break my wrist. I tore 2 tendons completely apart in my wrist.
Oh, jeez.
A dirt bike. So I was with a buddies of mine. I was at a place I'd never been before. It was a track, and then you got away from the track, and it was a bunch of trails, right? And of course, I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm hanging with the boys, and so we leave the track. As soon as you leave the dirt track, you go straight, and you can hang a left. There's a bunch of trails you can actually take. Well, they all made a left, so I made a left, and they didn't tell me it was a fucking goddamn hill like this that went for 100 yards, right? And there was ruts, and I've never been here before, right? So of course I'm flying down this hill, and it just started going like this, and it ended up right before I hit the bottom. I come almost completely off the bike, and I thought I was majorly going to eat shit. I was like, "This is it. I'm
Oh
eating
my God.
shit, and it's gonna hurt," right? Like I was preparing myself. Somehow I saved it, but when I landed back down. The first thing that hit was my as the front come back down after this big rut. Uh, with my left wrist, the bar was down and then it violently jerked up like this. And what it did is it ended up tearing 2 of my tendons right here in my wrist. So I went in, And I dealt with it, Miguel. I didn't even go to the hospital. My wife kept on me. She's like, you got to go. Your wrist is swollen. I'm like, it's
Wow.
okay. I just sprained it. No problem. Fast forward a year later, my wife's like, bro, you have got to go to the hospital about your wrist. I was like, no, I'm good. Like, I'm good. As you can tell, I don't like going to the hospital, right? Like, it's not killing me. I'm not bleeding out. I'm good. It's not broke. It's not purple. I'm good, right? So finally, I went for something else, and she's like, you better tell him. So I was there. I was like, hey, this is my wrist. And the dude looks at me. He's like, holy shit, how long has it been like that? I was like, about 2 years. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm dealing with it. I'm living life. That's what I'm doing. He's like, I'm sending you to a specialist. I go to a specialist. I do the whole MRI, all this. He's like, the doctor that originally did my first wrist surgery, he's like, dude, you completely tore your tendon. Like it's
It won't heal itself because it's snapped, so it's not gonna do anything. It's just gonna hang out there.
facts, right? And then I ended up, since I went so long, I had 6 cysts inside my wrist that they also had to remove. So it was a mess, right? So fast forward it 3-4 months later, my wrist never heals. Never. The swelling's still the same. I go back for all these checkups, and he's like, I don't know what to do. And this is my surgeon telling me this. He's like, I'm going to send you for a second opinion. I go for a second opinion, and this is right when COVID was hitting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I go for
that long ago.
yeah, it was just 4 years ago. I go for my second opinion, and the dude sitting there looking at my MRI, he's like, and how many tendons did the guy say you had? I was like, he told me I just had 1 tendon. He's like, no, my friend, you got 2 tendons completely severed in 2. He missed one completely. And he probably missed it from the MRI because your wrist was so swollen. My wrist has gone down since they repaired the first one, but it's still aggravated, still got a cyst in there, and blah, 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 blah. He's like, I'm going to get with the first surgeon, and we'll get back with you. And this was COVID when you had to do the mask and make these appointments, sit out in your car for they call it, all that bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Fast forward, I still ain't heard shit. And I got the whole my chart and all that, and I even reached out to him. And it's like, it's almost like I'm kind of pushed to the side because it's an elective. It's not something that's like it has to be done, blah, blah, blah right now. So I'm in the process right now of doing the whole getting another opinion at this wrist surgery place down the road. So my wife's helping me fill out this paperwork. And so, but that's my story. And that's how I did it, man. And
Well, Chris,
yeah,
this is something cool about what we were talking about with the insurance. Is that let's say that happened to you, they did go to the hospital, they paid, and then you get an X-ray, and they pay you some more. They do surgery, and you get a little bit more money. If you're hospitalized, then they pay you every day you're hospitalized. So it just kind of adds up, and that's the way a supplemental thing works. It doesn't matter what, it's not the hospital or you're paying with this money. It's just money that's being paid to you. It's cumulative. And then let's say instead of taking out of your savings account, your retirement account, or even putting on a credit card, which is detrimental in the long run, you got some cash. And if you don't need it, fantastic. Now you have cash to work on the bike.
Facts, right? And so I got this, dude. I got these wrist braces. My wife's still right now. I'm surprised she didn't say that. She's like, you got to wear your wrist brace. I'm like, I'm not wearing my fucking wrist brace. You got to wear I'm not wearing my wrist brace. Like I'll be it's just, yeah, it's, I should, but
and there's money for that too.
I like, dude, Miguel. Yeah, we'll definitely talk. This is awesome. It's like, dude, you get paid for that too, right? I even went out and got she got me one of those Mobius. I don't even know where it's at. I gotta find it because she asked me where it was the other day. It's a Mobius wrist brace, dude. It's like this. I don't know, man. It looks like some type of. I don't know. I can't really explain. If I had it here, I'd show it to you. But it's like you put it on. It's got this bottom part that goes to it. And you slip it on like this, and it's got this thing when you tighten it up, and it allows me to go. It allows me to make this wrist. I go up and down, but I can't move it left and right. Right? It's like it keeps it at that. Whatever.
That's one of the things that I messed up on is, when I had my accident, all I could think about in the hospital was, okay, well, how am I going to get back to the racetrack? What am I going to do this time? And it was, okay, better training. It was buy another bike because my bike was too slow. In my mind, I was world champion already. And I get out, and of course they're asking for me and physical therapy and stuff like that. Man, I didn't do any of that stuff. And that was a mistake because my injuries really hurt for a very long time. I couldn't sit in the car while we were traveling to a road race for more than a few hours before I had to get out and do laps around the car, you know. But you know, I do like you said, man.
No, I just deal with it, dude. I'm a Taurus, so I'm bull headed and I'm hard headed, right? Like and for me, I really got a high pain threshold as far as me goes. And I don't know. I just deal with it. That's just all I'm gonna say. I just deal with it. Just like with my knee, I don't want to go. I don't want to get on pills. It's just like I got ADHD, right? And they want to give me Adderall and all that. Fuck no. I don't want none of it. I'm gonna
That's
deal with it.
That's the road racer mentality, man.
Yeah, I'm just
I mean,
gonna
think
deal
about
with it.
I had, sitting there, I had the Halo one. I was in a wheelchair, and I was thinking, all right, man. So PRU is now the series that we're going to start racing because the 125 250s were super hot at the time. Next race, by the time I got out, was going to be VIR. And I still had the TZ at the time. It wasn't the RS yet, but I was going to buy the RS. That was the plan. And I'm like, all right, man, we're gonna do this, man. I don't know how, but we're going to do this. I mean, no training, no physical therapy or anything. We load up the bikes and we run to VIR. I must have got, my God, smoked so bad. First time I ever seen an elevation change. So it's a right-hander. You're uphill, then it's left, and then it's right, then it's. What am I supposed to do when I get to the bottom of the hill? Do I hit the brakes? Do I just turn it in? I don't know. Is it going to flip on me? So I had to go back to the drawing board after that experience. But you had to do it, because if you didn't do it, you wouldn't have ever done it again.
Yeah,
because of the experience.
No, for sure. It's
I
like,
don't know if it was like that with the wrist or not, but.
oh yeah, dude, it was absolutely. I had to get back on the bike immediately. That's the first thing I said. Like after because you wake up, right, and they're like, you're either gonna be super groggy after because this is the first time I ever had major surgery. Well, that's not major surgery, but been under, right? And they're like, except for my knee, but it was like my knee was broke to where they really didn't do surgery on it, where I just had to be in this cast and this brace, and they just let it heal on its own, right? But with my wrist, they put me under. I come back immediately as soon as I woke up. The first thing I said was, I want to go home. I'm ready to go home. I have got to go to the bathroom. And when can I ride again? And she's like, the bathroom's over there. You can go home here in about 20 minutes. And it's going to be a while before you ride, right? And I'm like, absolutely not. So I come home, wake up. My wife's, she was there with me that day. I immediately went out in the garage and was sitting on the bike. And I was like, I can't pull the clutch yet, but it's coming soon. She's like, get your ass back in this house, right? Yeah, same thing. I can't. Yeah, absolutely same thing, man. And look, man, we got my buddy Jake Marsh in the house, all the way from BSB. Loving the shirt once again, Chris. You already know because I got my mates. Man, this camera backwards thing just messing with me. R&D Racing. He races in BSB in the GP2 class. So yeah, big shout out to my buddy Jake Marsh.
My TZ actually went to England when I sold it.
Did it?
Yep. We put in a, how do you call it, forward air crate. Took all the spares. And they're really big into the two-strokes over there.
Oh, dude, it's I wish we were into bikes as the Europeans were into bikes. I really do. Not NASCAR, not football, not baseball. All that's just, to me, not taking nothing away from anybody that's into that. It's just not me. It's boring. I don't want to watch a baseball game. I don't want to watch a football game. The only football game I watch, which, hold up, I'm going to stop it right here. The real football is soccer. Americans, just put it out there. The real football is called soccer, right? Our football should have been called handball. But the only time I watch handball is the Super Bowl, really. And honestly, even then, it's like just for the halftime show or just basically to hang out like with you. Let's say me and you get together, we're going to cook hot wings and do all this, right? I'm there just for us to hang out and cook the wings. Even though the game's going on, I'm going to be on my phone involving something with either the podcast or motorcycle racing. I'll promise you that, right? That's how I am.
With you. I do it for the beer and the wings.
No, exactly. Right now, let's say if me and you say, hey, let's go to a real game. Now that's different, right? Because we're there, the atmosphere, the show, blah, blah, blah. I would do that. But as far as just sitting on the couch watching handball or baseball, no, but I do like hockey. I went to one of my very first hockey games and I got invited VIP. So I was right there on the floor, like I'm touching the freaking glass where the hockey players are just boom ramming up in it. And I was like, whoa, dude, this is badass, dude. And like the shots they were doing and the movements and yeah, dude. So hockey is actually a pretty cool sport.
I got a buddy of mine that Steve Wiener, super fast on 125 and 250 in Milwaukee. He was up there in championships, and that was his second thing is hockey.
It's fun. It's going there and seeing it live is absolutely and when they fight, it's badass because obviously they let them fight for a minute. Of course, they break them up, but then I didn't realize that because I don't ever watch it on TV. So when the other team, like we were the home team, so when the away team would come out or they would make some, people were throwing hats and bottles and everything out there on the ring. I was like, what's everybody doing? I didn't know that was a thing. Apparently that's a thing, right? So yeah, it was pretty cool. It's just different. Absolutely different. So let me ask you this, Miguel. So if people were interested in hitting you up for insurance, how would they do that?
Oh man. Well, I got a Facebook page. It's called Chirino Insurance. That's probably the easiest way. And then we can share contact information. That's probably the best way, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if can I get my phone number on a podcast?
Yeah, it's up to you. Listen, I give my personal phone number. I've said it live on the podcast. I do. It's 540-588-5562. Anybody wants to call me, I tell everybody, reach out, call me, shoot me a text. I will talk to you. It's yeah, absolutely 110. It don't even have to be about racing. We can talk about life. You want to talk about aliens? We could talk about aliens, right? You want to talk all that. I'm game. Yeah, it's like I always tell people, Miguel, none of us are strangers. We're just friends that haven't met yet. And I firmly believe that, right? So yeah,
I'll tell you the experience that I've had with all the road racer friends of mine, man. I mean, these are complete, I guess not strangers, but people you haven't met, people you haven't hung with, and you have a shared passion. And it's like, hey man, are you going to roadling? Yeah, I'd love to go roadling, but man, I don't want to go alone. Well, let's go to roadling. All right, go roadling. Before you know it, you're packing. It's 9 o'clock before the weekend starts, and you're going to roadling,
And we're on the road driving 4 hours, 5 hours, whatever.
4 or 5 hours. You become best friends after that.
Facts, it's, and I tell everybody since me being friends and becoming friends with, I mean, just racers all around the world, which blows my mind. It's an absolute honor. It's you're right. It's like you meet them, you have this conversation, and you have the same love and passion for the sport. It's like you're immediately friends. No questions asked, right? It's are you cold? Here's my shirt, right? You need something to eat? Here's some food. I mean, whatever it is, you need sprockets. Hey, I need a 47 tooth. I got you. Here it is, right? Or whatever. It's
you would think it'd be more how do you call it? I lost for words now. When you're competing against each other, competitive, I guess. But no, man, I've had people honestly who I have not agreed with whatsoever ask me, "Do you have the sprocket?" Sure, man. These are people I really did not see eye to eye, and we were obviously not friends, but we still help each other. Like, it's okay, whatever. We're doing this together.
That's one thing that I think what I call a beautiful circus, because it's a beautiful circus. Whether you're in BS, I'm talking about road racing in general, whether you're in America, Australia, wherever it is, that I think that's what separates us from other sports, that commodity that we have, even though I don't ever use the word hate. I think hate should be the baddest, worst word that you ever could use. It's such the most negative word you could say, right? So when I don't agree, or I just don't dislike it. I just dislike it, right? Even when you don't see eye to eye with your competitor or somebody at a track day that you see quite often, he needs help. I'm the first one over there. Hey man, you got an issue? I'll help you out, right? And it's that you put all that bullshit aside because you're there for the same love and the same thing, right? And then when you walk away and you help, you don't dislike each other that much more, right? Right? You actually like each other just that little bit more, right? You work on it. It's a working thing, right? Hey, I say this all the time. We're in this together and we'll figure it out together, right? And so it's
one of the big examples of community that I've had, one of the biggest examples, and actually this is probably one of the best times in my career was racing little bikes. We were racing the 250, the Respect 250s. Before that, there was no, the only lightweight was 125 GP bikes. But that kind of started phasing out when MotoGP changed the 4-strokes.
Yeah.
You had some more walkies, but it wasn't the same. You know? So I raced mini bikes, and I had some friends, Walter Pereira and his wife Sabrina Pereira, who me pre-SFL Mini GP. It's called Flamra, and they were hot and heavy into it. And they used to race Ducatis, and Walter was super fast. And one day we're just looking at each other, and I started racing with them. They convinced me to race with them, which is a spec 125 class. Thumbstar spec one. Everybody's in the same machine. It costs barely anything to run. You buy the machine, buy some tires, and just go at it. And I had so much fun. You know, we're looking at each other like, why don't we have this for the big bikes? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And we started doing some research, and we found that Wera had Super Stock E for the 250s. You can put up a 250 for $1,000, all wadded. You change the bodywork, put some tires on it, you go racing, and you can be competitive. But we still didn't have it here in Florida. So we were like, do we go to Georgia and up north, or do we try to promote something and make something happen here? Because it just makes logical sense. We can't be the only three thinking this makes sense. So we start a Facebook page. We approach Henry DeGal, which is the Florida road racing promoter. We're like, listen, man, we've got this idea. We think it's going to take off. Will you give us an opportunity? And he's like, hey, bring the bikes. I'll give you an opportunity. He wanted like 5 bikes or 6 bikes or something like that. I immediately bought a bike. Walter buys a bike. Sabrina buys a bike. We start showing up at races without a car, just entering races together and doing our own thing. Before you know it, we had 27 riders. We were the biggest grid of the weekend. Absolute gas. So talking about community, it's awesome when you have like-minded people saying, yeah, that makes sense. Let's do this. And the only way to do this is if we come together and we promote it. So each one of us as a rider was also a promoter. And this wasn't regional. This was Florida. And then we had Bruce Berry, Jody Berry, Ray Hoffman, Harrison Warren up in the Midwest doing their thing, promoting on their side. And it blew up everywhere. CCS eventually national.
I love
Pretty
it.
cool stuff.
It's absolutely amazing, and that's something, man. I got an RC51. It's been one of my dream bikes. I got it, and man, I'm look who this is. What's up, my boy? What you doing, man?
Yeah,
What's
I
going
got
on,
my
guys?
report card today.
You got your report card today?
Yeah.
It's good. Look
I
at
got-
your face.
Mavi bit him.
What?
No, Mavi was like angry. She was like, she started barking, jumped up, and bit him in his eye.
Are you okay?
No, it's like she was on a whole nother. She wasn't like normal Mavi. She was like Cruz, like when that freaking bunny, remember the bird he was like trying to bite her when Charlie in the old days? Mavi was going crazy.
You want to say hi to my buddy Miguel?
Yo, what's up?
Hey, what's up? How's it going?
I got something to tell you after the podcast.
All right, I'll be out after the podcast.
Yeah.
Later, guys.
Y'all shut the door behind you. What's going on, homeboy? I see you guys. Did you guys eat?
No, we just got here.
Okay.
Mom texted me pizza's here, so.
All right.
Get ready.
All right, I love y'all.
Uh-oh.
All right.
It's
So,
that
yeah.
time.
No, well, my boy right here, and then his best friend lives right down the street, and his other friend, he's the one that I told you about that I picked up on my way here and brought him here.
Mhm.
So yeah, they're all staying the night, and yeah, it's gonna be crazy. I don't mind it, dude. I love having kids around. I love, dude, watching cartoons and playing video games and water fights and balloon fights and trampoline, dude. I do all that shit.
Give you a
I
chance
do.
to have some fun.
Yeah, well, I think because I mentally, dude, I stay so young mentally. I think it helps me, right? It helps with everything because I'm not the type of person to sit around and say I can't do that. I fucking yes, absolutely, I can do that, right? I might not do it at the same speed I once been able to do it, but I can still do it. Hold my beer and watch this, right? I know you heard that saying.
sounds
Hold my beer.
dangerous. That sounds dangerous. Yeah.
At times it probably is, but yeah, that's a whole nother subject. But yes, it's that whole mentality, you know. It's ever since I've had my son, he's 11. He's made me a better person. made me see things in a completely different way before I had kids. Oh, a kid. I only have one. Um, and he's helped me be who I am today. I'll put it to you like that. The whole, just everything. I mean, I can't just name one thing. It's the whole package. Yeah, and I'm super close to him. I spend, if I'm not podcasting, right, like as soon as we get off here, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go eat pizza with them. We're gonna go down the street. Shoot, we might even get in the creek. I don't know what we're gonna do. Who knows, right? It's the whole weekend. We can do whatever we want, right? And I'm that guy. Well, I'll stay up till 2 or 3. Well, I say I'll stay up at 2 or 3 in the morning. I'll try with the kids, right? Just to be eat popcorn, whatever, pillow fights. Let's jump on the trampoline at 2 in the morning.
Amazing, man. You seem like you make the time for this stuff because you're always podcasting. I see you on all the time.
Listen, it's a
and you have time for the kids. It's awesome.
I do, man. I do. It's we only have this one life, and that's it, right? Time is a thief. It's something we can't pause, we can't take back, we cannot rewind. We're just right here in a moment, right? So I wake up every day and I live the best day of my life every day. That's my attitude every day I wake up. It's going to be better than tomorrow. It's going to be better than tomorrow. It's going to be better tomorrow. And I just don't let things bother me. I just don't let things bother me that much. It's not like I used to, right? That's another thing about having a kid is I learned a whole shit ton of patience. I used to be the most impatient dude you ever met. Now I'm like the most patient guy you ever met. Yeah, so podcasting is a full-time job. Absolutely it is. It's nothing that I envision, doing, but here I am and I love it. I would never take it back for anything. And I'm just going to keep going forward. But yeah, it's a full-time job. I got a full-time job at work. And then of course I'm a husband and a dad and I got dogs and cats and friends. So I just love living life and I'm in a good spot in my life and I fucking love it, dude. Yes, absolutely. I podcast all the time. I got one tomorrow. The only one I don't have is a Sunday. Sunday I took off, but one on Monday, one on Tuesday. I think I skipped Wednesday, another one on Thursday, another one on Friday. Yeah, man, I just love it, man.
You had Rick on yesterday. I'm representing his track day organization today.
Yes, sir. Rick Glover, dude, he is absolutely awesome. And that podcast we had yesterday was absolutely amazing. Learning the how to get your kid first started in racing, the cost, the do's, the don'ts, what they learned, how to go forward, the future, all that stuff. To me, it's a very important. All my podcasts are important, but it's a different side of the story that nobody really tells. You don't hear it being really spoken about.
Talking about the difference. I mean, from when I started, there was no track days. We had a guy long with a truck and a bunch of YSRs, and he took us to the track, and that's how you raced. And you see how organized things are now, and the parents have a path, with the South Florida Mini GP with Michael, who's doing a really good job. So it's cool to see that, but it is different. They don't understand what they have.
No, they don't. Right? It's
they won't.
No, they won't. They won't. They won't. Yeah. Times have changed, right? For the good, for sure. Absolutely it has. Bro, dude, this has been awesome. We're almost at an hour and 30 in this. Miguel, this has been a long time coming. It's been an absolute honor to get you on here, have this conversation. There's plenty more that we need to talk about. I got a shit ton of questions, but it's not going to happen tonight, right? Because I'm going to have to go in there, hang out with the kiddos, because if not, my son's going to keep coming back in here, which I don't mind, but he's going to keep coming back in here. Daddy, right?
Yeah, man, you got to go hang out. You got to make the time for the family like we were talking about.
Absolutely. I love my family. They're absolutely my everything, 110%. But before we get off here, I got to ask you my favorite part of the interview, which is the personal questions, right? So I started off, I'm going to start it off with this. I'm going to start it off kind of backwards. So celebrity crush, Miguel. Who's your celebrity crush?
Really?
Huh?
I think Sandra Bullock is cool.
Salma Hayek has always been my celebrity crush.
Sandra Bullock's kind of still associated with motorcycles, and she was with Jesse James for a while. That's about
facts. She's a beautiful woman. Absolutely, she is. Let me ask you this: your favorite movie, Miguel?
My favorite movie, man. I'm into cheesy movies. I'm into Point Break, Days of Thunder, Top Gun, that kind of stuff.
Bro,
over and over and over again.
Those are my Top Gun's my favorite movie just because that's what my dad did. But yes, everything. Point Break, dude. So Keanu Reeves, that a lot of people, I've never said this, is my favorite actor. Dude, he's I love John Wick, The Matrix, Point, dude.
And he turns out to be a biker too, and on a motorcycle.
Dude
company.
owns Arch, yeah, dude races and Johnny Utah. Come on, people, you don't know who Johnny Utah is? Get out of here! You need to go watch Point Break right now. Yeah, it's a.
What I am waiting for is a proper motorcycle road racing movie, which they haven't. I've seen some. That's
yeah. Me too. I mean, they got good documentaries. Of course, we all seen
Yeah.
The Doctor, the Texas Tornado, the Kentucky Kid, Faster, Fastest. You know all that,
Yeah.
all that stuff. It's good stuff, man. So let me ask you this then: what's your worst habit, Miguel?
My worst.
Your worst habit.
Oh man, I didn't prepare for this one. Probably procrastination, I suppose. You know, I have stuff to do in the garage, and I'll turn on YouTube and.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. So let me ask you this then: tell us something we don't know about you.
What we don't know about me. I'm
Tell
sure
us
a lot of people don't know a lot about me because this is the first they've heard of me. You know. I don't know if I can answer that question. Man.
Okay. Well,
It's just a trick question.
I mean, not really. Kind of like no, not really. Just something.
I'm a Virgo. I'm 5'8", 150 pounds.
There you go. There you go.
So for any road racer girls out there, you know, single.
There you go. Single. There it is. Right. So if any ladies is listening, listen. Miguel is free.
Pin
Yes,
the Gas
go.
podcast dating service. That's awesome.
That's
I love
it, dude. That's a good idea right now. Yeah, that is advertising right there. That's awesome, man.
Forget the
So
insurance stuff.
yeah, we could do that, right? Dating side and the insurance side, dude. Yeah, we'll talk now. So let me ask you this, and Miguel, if you could take any three people in the world to a track day, dead or alive, MotoGP world, whoever it is, friends, family, what three people are you bringing to your track day?
To my track day.
Yep, track day. Let's say you're going to a track day, and you can, let's say, if I'm going to a track day and I can invite any three people in the world, I'm bringing Keanu Reeves, I'm bringing Joey Dunlop, and who else? Mike the Bike Hellwood. Those are the three I'm bringing to the track day, right? So what three are you bringing to the track day?
Mike Weicker, which is my racing buddy. Probably my nephew, Dylan Grassball. And probably Frank De La Renta.
Jorge Lorenzo?
No, Frank De La Renta. I'm talking about my local guys, man.
Oh, okay.
I remember we went up to Jennings once. There were the endurance races. They used to have them every year. And that's my favorite thing to do is endurance races. It involves everybody. It's a team sport. You know what that bike is capable of. That's where your bar is, you know. And they canceled it last minute. We were totally focused. One of my buddies is coming from Maine to race with us, so we came back out. And Jennings was like, no, it's canceled. We're like, well, we want to ride. You want to rent the track? So we ended up renting the track between Donnie, Paul, Mike, and I. So 4 guys. And we just rode and rode and rode and rode. We will never forget that. We told ourselves, we're going to do suspension and we're going to try this geometry and that geometry many times. We didn't do any of that, man. We just rode. Threw out of gas. And all our bikes broke. I think we had 1 bike surviving.
Best time in the world, though, right?
Best time in the world, man.
Absolutely, man. So everybody knows I listen to a lot of audiobooks, right? And actually, I recommend this book. I get asked, dude, listen, this is the book that I'm currently listening to, and it is absolutely amazing. It is called The Ragged Edge.
Nice.
By
Stuart Barker.
By Stuart Barker. It's all about the Isle of Man TT, but it's a brutal, true story of the history of the TT, and it is absolutely amazing. What books do you read book or listen to books?
Honestly, I need to do a lot more self-improvement. My former mentor, I was a home inspector for 10 years. I owned the company to get me into motivational speakers like Zig Ziglar, and turned me on to books like Keller Pappison, who used to own Keller Williams, a real estate company. They would do like books. One thing is the one that tell you those little tricks and tips for entrepreneurs and professionals and stuff like that. And it works, man. Like the 80-20 rule, you put get 20% or 80% of your results from 20% of your input. It kind of changes the way you kind of do things and helps you become a little bit more streamlined. You know, as a kid, I was super scattered, but in recent times, I've been able to get some more momentum and proper direct trajectory. You know.
Yeah, facts, dude. Another book I recommend too. There's a lot of books, but David Goggins, Miguel. Have you ever read David Goggins' books?
No, I heard. What's that about?
Oh, bro, it's motivational. Exactly what you was just talking about. But when I end the podcast, me and you will stay on just for a couple more minutes. But another book, my man, have you heard of Andy Ibbett? You know who Andy Ibbett is? He's an absolute bro. You gotta look him up. People, Andy Ibbett. He sent me this book, MotoGP Performance Riding Techniques. It is an in-depth book. It's kind of like The Twist of the Wrist. It's a very good in-depth book, man. It's absolutely amazing. He sent it to me, so this is another one I highly recommend. But this is the only one that I physically read. All the other ones are audio books.
Right. I need to get into that. I think it makes things a lot more convenient, you know, where you're driving and spending time.
Well, it is, and I just don't have the time to sit down and read all the time. And when I do, it's absolutely this book. I'm like 40 pages into it, and I've had it for a couple months. I just don't, man, I'm just so busy. I don't never have the time to. And when I do finally just to get to sit down, I don't get to sit down. My quiet time's the shower time. And then when I get out, I'll like sit on the couch with my son for a couple minutes. And usually I'm like, man, I'm ready to go to bed, right? Because I get up early.
There's a book by Kevin Krause. I'll have to send you the title. I don't know about it, but it's about time management. He interviews Olympians and entrepreneurs and professionals and stuff. And they're like, well, you know, how do you have 10 companies, 10 multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar companies? And they go through the process of how they compartmentalize and schedule the time. Really interesting, you know.
It is. I think I got a pretty good thing going on, having 2 full-time jobs and being.
You're doing pretty good. You're doing all right. Making it happen.
I do, man. And if it wasn't for my wife being so supportive, I wouldn't be where I'm at, right? Because she's a huge supporter. Her for sure, 110%. So yeah, big shout out to my wife. So yeah, let me ask you this, man. Favorite music? I mean, it's kind of a broad question, but let me ask you this: what are you listening to right now?
Honestly, I do Floyd, like Pink Floyd, classic rock. It all depends on the mood, man.
Yeah, it
Going to
does.
a road race, I'm listening to Metallica, Megadeth, Overkill, hardcore death metal.
Right. Yes.
Want to get the blood pumping, you know.
Facts, 110%. Me too. I was the same way, dude. You know, I've been listening to a lot of Frank Sinatra lately.
Nice.
I like Frank, man. I could throw some Frank on. I'll be out in the garage working on my bike or whatever. Just throw some Frank Sinatra on and just straight jam out the vibes. Yeah, it's good stuff, man. So, who's your favorite comedian?
My favorite comedian. Actually, you know what? Can't really tell you. I mean, I see Dave Chappelle, and I really couldn't name a list of a bunch of comedians that's me. You know? I used to love Robin Williams. That guy was awesome.
Yeah, Rob.
That was such a loss.
Right. Yeah. I watched several Robin Williams stand-up comedy. He was really funny. I like George Carlin's always been one of my favorite stand-up comedy. Carlin was an absolute G, right? I'll just put it to you like that. He was awesome, man. So Miguel, I ask everybody this question because growing up, dude, it was one of my favorite movies, dude. Are you Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars or Star Trek? See, as a kid growing up, I spent a lot of time at my grandparents' house on the weekends, you know, just kind of watching TV, and it was all about Star Trek. So, but I can do the Star Wars just the same. Now that YouTube is on Disney Channel and stuff like that, you know.
Fact. So let me ask you this: what Star Trek character would you be?
What Star Trek
character
Star
would
Trek.
Miguel be?
The captain.
The captain, Captain Picard. Who else would I be? Yeah, right. Who else would I be? So, listen, favorite food, Miguel. What is your favorite food?
You know, that's a toss-up between brisket from Texas, like barbecue, or Peruvian food.
Nice.
All Peruvian food. It's delicious.
Okay. I don't know if I've had any Peruvian food. I'm gonna have to try that.
You're gonna have to make it a point. Do you like
I
seafood?
will. Man, I love seafood.
Oh, absolutely. Like that'll be a hit for sure.
Yeah, I absolutely love seafood. I love Thai food's one of my favorites. Greek food's one of my favorite. Indian food's one of my favorites. And I like
They're all the.
broad Mexican food's one of my
He's like-
favorite.
Oh, it's like, yeah, I can do that too. Yeah, that'll work too.
Yeah, bring it on. How hot is it? Give me the hottest shit you got. Let's go. Right. So let me ask you this: are you a pineapple on pizza guy or not?
Nah, can't do it. I can do it.
Okay. I can, but I like grill. Did you ever grill pineapple?
So here, but Thai friends, and she introduced me to Thai food. We'd be sweating around the table, That's how spicy it was, little peppers. But they have a dessert called arroz con mango, which is rice. Actually, they probably don't call it arroz because they're not Cuban, but in Spanish it's rice. Whatever. It's mango with rice.
I eat it all the time. I absolutely, it's one of my favorite things. It is. If you guys haven't had it, get off of here. If you got a Thai food restaurant, go order some. I'm telling you.
You had it?
Yes. So
That's awesome.
my cousin, he married a Thai woman. He went out to Thailand, found a girl in a bar. She was a waitress, brought her back to United States, ended up marrying her. And this is where I fell in love with Thai food. And this is when I used to hate hot and spicy stuff, right? But now I'm addicted to hot and spicy. Like my level of heat spicy.
It changed your life.
Dude, all because of her. Yes, it changed my life. So I remember the first time I had it, I was like, this is the most amazing shit I've ever had in my life.
And if you don't eat over, you're insulting them. So you have to eat over.
Facts. Even though I was sweating, my mouth was on fire and I couldn't taste shit. It was the best shit ever, right? And then for dessert, it was sticky rice, is what she calls it, sticky rice and mangoes. And it was, since that day, I go to a Thai restaurant down the road. Yeah, of course I get whatever, pad Thai or whatever it is I'm in the mood for. I always got to get the sticky rice and the mangoes. You have
It's
to.
funny. In Spanish, arroz con mango is like a slang term for everything fell apart. Everything went to shit. It's an arroz con mango. Like everything is just like.
It's all went to shit. It is. It's funny, man, but it's so good. People, listen to me, Miguel. We're telling you good shit right now. Go and try sticky rice and mangoes. You won't. Mangoes is one of my favorite fruit. I love mangoes and avocado. You could give me 10 avocados and some lime and some cilantro, and I am good. Straight good. I don't need nothing else.
My buddy Paul Vance is in the keto diet, and his doctor, and she's been telling me about this diet. And I think it's kind of crazy because it's no sugar, whatever. And then one day he's like, I'm going to take you out to lunch. I'm like, all right, cool. Let's go out to lunch, man. He gets a tub of avocado. He gets 2 tubs of avocado. And he hands me a spoon. I'm like, all right, man, so where's the rest of the food? He's like, no, man, that's it. Pure avocado.
You're like, dude, I can eat them like that. A lot of people, dude, like I'll go to work.
Great. It was awesome.
Bro, I'll go to work and I'll take like 4 avocados and I'll be in there, got my little knife. I'll take it like this, pull the pit out, just scoop it out, and I just start banging it out. And they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, bro, eating avocados. They're like, that shit is gross. I was like, nah, bro, this stuff, the avocado, a lot of people do this, one of the best, healthiest fruit. It's really good. It's really good for you too. So
yeah,
I love avocado, man. I really do. Let me ask you this. Do you have any superstitions at all? Meaning that, yeah, go ahead.
I know of them, but I really don't pay attention to them because I don't want it to be holding me back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm aware, but at the same time, I don't try to focus on it because I can't afford it. I don't have time for that.
I love it. I ain't got time for that shit. Get out of here, superstition. Yeah.
Yeah, because it'll keep me from going racing. It'll keep all sorts of stuff that I might want to do,
Yeah. So let me ask you this. What is your favorite bike, Miguel? Your most favorite bike you've ever owned or you got right now?
The Beezer, the BSA that I got. 1965. I've had it since I was 15 years old. It's what's responsible for getting me into people who got me into racing and opened this world up to me, So it's just a sentimental thing, and it's a blast to ride.
I love it. You have to send me a picture of it.
Oh, for sure, man.
Yeah, I definitely got to get a picture of that. So let me ask you this. Who is the most famous person you have in your phone?
The most famous person I have. Famous or infamous?
Famous or infamous, either or.
Honestly, I don't think I know any famous people. That's kind of lame. I need to get out there more, huh? I need to mingle with the Hollywood stars.
Oh, man, yeah, that's true. I wouldn't know.
Who do you got? Who do you got?
Man, I knew you was gonna ask me that. Dude, this is kind of a trick question, man, because I know a lot of people. Oh man, I don't want to hurt anybody. Oh man, I don't even know how to answer that.
Oh, you asked it, so you're reaping.
Dude, listen, and I'm gonna answer that. So it's off the top of my head, the most famous person I have in my phone. Man, that's a trick question. It's not a trick question. I just, dude,
Actually, you probably have a bunch of your podcasts. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
You interview everybody.
right.
It's just on the spot, you know.
That's a good answer. Just
Watch
watch my podcast. I got so many friends, but I don't see them as famous. They're just my friends, right?
Right.
But I've been such a fan of the sport, it still blows my mind that I'm actually friends with like Braden Elliott, Tom Neve, dude, Peter Hickman, right? It's like, are you kidding me right now? Yeah, I mean,
and they're probably just normal blokes, you know.
Dude,
you know?
They absolutely they are. They're just down to earth people, just like me and you are, man. That just love motorcycles just as much as we are, right? Except for Peter Hickman's just he's just special. All those TT guys are special in that way, right? With road racing. But other than that, yeah, they're just like me and you. But man, that's a hard one. So I don't even know how to answer that, to be honest with you. I'm just gonna go on and say my good mate Dave Neal. There it is. That's the most famous person I have in my phone, Dave Neal. So big shout out to Dave Neal, man. He has a podcast called Off Track Podcast where he does all TT. He does a lot of TT riders, mostly BSB. Absolutely brilliant guy. That's the whole reason why I went over there to Cadwell Park. I reached out to Dave Neal. At the time, he was a press officer for OMG Rich Energy, Yamaha out there in the UK, and BSB when Bradley Ray won the title, and Kyle Ride was on the team, and I reached out to him. And at first, I invited him to be part of the podcast group on Facebook, and he accepted. And he's like, "Hey, mate, thanks for the exception. I'm Dave Neal." And I knew exactly who he was. I was listening to Dave Neal on MotoPod before podcast was a thing, when it was on the radio. So I've been listening to Dave for a long time. And so I got off the balls. I was like, "Dude, I'd love to have you on the podcast." And he said yes. And I was like, "Oh my fucking God, are you kidding me right now? Like, this is going to happen?" And since then, we just become really good friends. Like, we text each other. And I was like, "Dude, I'd love to come to BSB." Obviously, I got my passport, flew out there, and that's how that whole thing happened. And from him, I've met so many wonderful people in BSB that are now my friends, and it's been an absolute honor. Absolutely honor. But yeah, so that's Dave Neal is my answer. But listen, I'm gonna ask you two more questions. I'm gonna let you give all your shouts out. I'm gonna do my shout outs, and then I gotta go eat dinner and hang out with all the kiddos. Let me ask you this: what is your spirit animal?
My spirit animal.
Miguel's like, "What kind of question is this, man? What are you doing, man?"
I don't know, man. I had a cat.
Think, man. Nobody's ever asked me this shit before. What are you doing?
I had a cat. It was cool, man.
Well, okay. All right. So, dude, if you could choose any superpower in the world, right? Superpower. What power would it be?
Any superpower.
Like I could fly like Superman. I could transport, be invisible.
I say telekinesis would be pretty cool. I used to like the movie Firestarter. Remember that?
Yeah. Telekinesis would be cool. You're the first one that
we have moved stuff in your
with your mind. You know? It'd be like being a Jedi in Star Wars, right?
Exactly. As long as you get the headaches, you're fine.
Bro, how many times? And I know in my lifetime I want to force choke somebody out like Darth Vader does, right? You just sit there and you're like, "Oh," and I've tried it 100 times and it don't never work. So I call bullshit on that. But I need to practice more. That's it. I love it. You just ain't practiced enough, man. Come on. Well, listen, Miguel, I hope you had a lot of fun because I had an absolute blast.
Absolute blast. It's an honor to sit with you, man. And it's kind of reviving. I've been a little bit of hiatus, so
Well, good. I'm glad to have you on here. Listen, we'll plan a part 2, so we'll come back on here. We'll talk about everything we didn't get to touch base on, and I'm really looking forward to it. But before we get off here, Miguel, tell everybody where they can find you at on all social media.
Absolutely. So it's Miguel Chirino. Realtor is one on Instagram. Chirino Insurance on Facebook. That's pretty much the easiest way to find me. You can't go wrong.
No, you cannot. And listen, I can't wait to meet you in real life. We haven't had the honor yet, but we will meet in real life. I promise you that.
I'm
That's one
thinking
thing.
about doing the SFL event in July. I think we're gonna have an endurance race, and that's gonna be at Anderson, I believe.
Yep. Yeah, they're listen, I can't say enough about SFL Mini GP. So I'm just going to go on with my shout outs. And of course, I'm going to start out with SFL Mini GP. You guys know, you've heard all these podcasts, and that's what I always talk about. It's the best program we have in America, hands down, 110%. There is no excuses, no bullshit. If you want to get into racing or learn how to ride, all you got to do is pay registration and show up. If you don't have boots, helmets, gloves, back protector, leathers, any of that, bike, no problem. You just pay and you show up, and guess what? You're going to ride. You're going to have the most fun in your entire life. Not only that, dude, SFL Mini GP has been pumping out absolute legends. Look at Avery Dreyer. Look at Julian Carrera. Look at Ella Dreyer. Look at Isaac Woodworth. I could sit here and go on and on for another 10 minutes of all the legends coming out of SFL Mini GP right now. So big shout out to them. Of course, you already know, big shout out to Bison. Again, anybody looking for a suit, don't buy off the rack suit. Hit Bison up. Use Pin to Gas 2024 for 10% off everything they have there. Big shout out to my man Jake Marsh and the whole R&D racing team out there. He races in BSB on the GP2 bike. He's an absolute up-and-coming legend. He has a club called Club 45. Listen, go and join, help him out. It's nothing but love and much appreciation. Of course, I just shouted out Juju, right? Congratulations on a second place. Man, I was super ecstatic. You can watch them in the British Talent Cup. They actually show it on YouTube. So if you guys missed it, you can always go back on YouTube. It's British Talent Cup. Check them out. Juju, absolute legend. I actually got several friends that race over there too. Man, they're all legends, right? It's like, who's my favorite racer in the world? All my friends that race are all my favorites in the world, right? Big shout out to my man Martin at the Clothing Kings. You guys can go to clothingkings.co.uk out there in the UK and get all the Pin to Gas merch you guys want over there. He's an absolute legend, man. And I got some t-shirts and some hats when we first started working together, and they're some of the best hats and shirts I ever had. They're actually sewn in, dude. Absolutely amazing. So big shout out to him, man. I hope I didn't forget anybody. There's so many, like I could go on and on. You guys know who you are. I appreciate everybody that watches this podcast, either watched it live or is going to listen to it in the future. If you have not yet, please go like and subscribe on YouTube, on Spotify, iHeart, and all that. This episode will be out everywhere but Apple, because I'm not on Apple yet. I've been accepted. It's my computer right here won't get the new update. So, it's like any Apple product. Once it uses its life up, it's like you got to buy a new one. You got to buy a new one, right? Whether it's an iPhone or computer. So one day I'll have the money and I'll buy a new computer. But this is where we're at. Thank you guys so much. Stay tuned, because you guys will see this face again at least a couple more times this weekend. So look, Miguel's like, we already know, right? So I appreciate it. Miguel, listen, again, it's been an absolute honor to have you on the podcast. I had the best time. Oh, real quick, big shout out to BSB Barmy Army, my man Shane Farrow out there. Chef Eats, anybody here in America, you're at the racetrack, look no further than Chef Eats. He makes the best. Have you tried Chef Eats, Miguel?
I do meal plans. I have not tried Chef Eats, but I've been thinking about it. It kind of goes hand in hand with what I've been doing.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, stay on with me. I'm gonna hook you up to get in touch with Jeff Servin at Chef Eats. It's it's one of those things that, I ain't gonna lie. I've tried what is it, Hello Fresh, and there's several other ones I've tried. And then I seen Chef Eats going around the paddock, and of course I had him on my podcast. So I reached out to him, and he sent me 6 free meals. And dude, honestly, they were the best meals I ever had. They come,
Nice.
I mean, 3 minutes and 30 seconds in a microwave, a steak, right? And you're thinking, dude, there's no way this thing's gonna be rubber, dude. Absolutely not. It's more. It's I'm telling you right now, and he can meal prep your food based on what you need. You don't want no salt, no problem,
Right.
right?
You do the
He can
keto
cater it.
thing.
Dude, he can do it however you want it pretty much. He's got this big menu, but big shout out to Chef Eats. You guys look him up. Big shout out to Vet2 Track. So if I have any vets out there, look no further than Vet2 Track. Jim Whitman, it's an absolute proper mega program. So big shout out to him. If you guys have or want to know more about it, just send me a message and I'll put you in contact about the whole thing. That's actually the fundraiser that I had for my birthday was for Vet2 Track, because what he does for the veterans is absolutely amazing. We actually need more people like that in this world, you know. That's where one thing we are sorely lacking on as Americans is we're so quick to send our young loved ones out there overseas, but when they come back and they got PST or whatever mental things that they went through out there and they come back, you know, it's like our government just pushes them off to the side, and we don't need that. We need to take care of them. We need to do a better job as a whole, right? And so what he does is he has track days, so he gets them out there on the bike, helps them work with the team, and they learn. You know, they put them in a safe environment where they're comfortable, they're safe, and it's nothing but love. So big shout out to Vet2 Track, absolutely amazing. So yeah, good stuff, man. Good stuff, Miguel. I had a fun, bro. What an absolute honor to have you on the podcast.
Absolutely blessed, Chris. Thank you for having me, man.
Oh man, listen, I can't wait for part 2. I will send you some information as far as a couple more books as far as that David Goggins and all that stuff goes. I already know you're gonna like it. It's a self-motivational. David Goggins was like, I'll put it real quick story, 300 pounds, wanted to join the Navy SEALs, went down to them. They looked at him and said, absolutely not. You gotta lose like 200 pounds or 150 pounds within like 5 months. Dude, he did it. He's the 37th Black Navy SEAL in history. Was he a Green Beret? Oh, no, he tried out for Delta Force. Dude, he is just a bad motherfucker. Like mentally, so motivational. Don't exist in his vocabulary. It's I can, I will, I'm gonna make this do it. He's a marathon running 250 miles with broken ankles, still running, pissing blood. Bro, I'm telling you, the dedication and the story, it is different when you listen to his audiobook. It's Miguel will, let's say if I have a book about the podcast, Miguel is the narrator, but after the first chapter, I actually come in with him and we actually break down the whole chapter together, and then we move on to the next chapter. So it puts a different twist on it. It's absolutely amazing. So again, if you guys, yeah, dude, you should. And if any fans in here with David Goggins, you're going to know this saying, who's going to carry the boat? I'm going to carry the boat. And when you read the book, you'll understand that, Miguel, for real. We're going to carry this boat. So yes, thank you guys so much. I love all you guys. I love all the support, and I wouldn't be here without each and every one of you. And all you guys mean everything to me, and girls, of course, right? So I do this to everybody all the time, Miguel. Nothing but love, baby. There
Does it
it
work
is.
for me too? Does it work for me?
If you have it,
that's an exclusive thing.
No. If you have a MacBook Air or a MacBook, yes, it'll work.
No other technology.
or an iPhone if you was actually using your iPhone. Dude, this thing does, like, I've done a thumbs up, balloons, but I'm not sure how to make it do all this crazy stuff. It just does it every once in a while, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, dude, this has been a lot of fun, dude. We're almost 2 hours into this. This is awesome.
Oh my God.
Dude, I told you it was gonna go by quick, and it's just one of those things. It's the same thing, right? It's like the road race community. It's our love for the sport. We're friends, and dude, we could sit here and just chop it up for hours, man.
Absolutely, man.
But
absolutely.
Yep. So listen,
I gotta go have pizza, man.
Pizza and hot wings, right? Hopefully they're hot.
Yep.
We will see. If not, I got some hot sauce in there that'll make them hot for sure. But yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you guys. I will see you guys tomorrow. So yeah, I appreciate it.